My name is Darren Leonardson. I'm the president and CEO of Transformed Culinary Solutions. I'm here today to actually tell you about my testimony, and I've really never actually done it before on video, so here we go. I grew up in Seattle, Washington, actually, and got involved in restaurants. My first job was McDonald's. I always tell people that at 15, to learn cleanliness, uniform standards, and efficiency was great going into my role as wanting to become a chef. But honestly, where I grew up, I called it the Garden of Eden, because my parents had a property that was 2.5 acres, and we could see the whole Cascade Mountain range. I could see Mount Rainier to Mount Baker. Well, when I was really young, my dad planted over 40 fruit trees on the property. I also helped build an English garden and a greenhouse. It was fairly large, but I remember when most kids would be selling lemonade down on their street corner, I was selling my dad's Japanese pears for $1 a pop because he had those on the property. So I always had been around food, loved going out to the garden and harvesting like fresh radishes with my mom and helping to snip fresh herbs and being involved in cooking and really just falling in love with it. So I probably went away from it for a little while, was cooking with friends, and then recognized that, wow, I really should go to culinary school. But before that happened, I felt as though God spoke to me. And, whether you believe it or not, I remember where I was actually in the shower, and it just kind of like hit me, and I got chills on my arm, and it just flooded upon me. And this vision that I am supposed to be a pastor and lead people to Christ. And it was actually honestly overwhelming. And it wasn't until just recently I've sort of connected what my purpose and my passion is. And also recognizing that he wasn't instructing me to be an actual pastor. He never said, hey, I want you to be on a pulpit. He just said he wants me to inspire and lead people to Christ. That was really what he had hit me with. And so my whole life, I've actually been running from it. I feel like I'm Jonah in the Bible, the biblical story of him. He was supposed to go to Nineveh and preach the gospel, and he didn't. And he went on a boat and went a different direction. And guess what? There were waves and destruction, and the men threw him over, and the giant whale swallowed him and spit him out 3 days later. And then he finally listened to God, and he went and did what he said. So I feel as though that is the modern day version of it. And I don't know what God has in store, but I have to share with you that I finally have connected my purpose and my passion. So to fast forward to a couple situations that had happened in my life. So, and throughout the whole process, I've had situations where it was God whispering to me, see, I'm talking to you. I want you to do this. I've had situations where I've interviewed sous chefs, and they've actually said to me, hey, I'm not here to interview for a job. I'm here to tell you you're supposed to be a pastor. I've had residents during cooking demonstrations shake their head and say, you missed your calling. You should have been a pastor. Honestly, where it all came together for me, I was interviewing for a job, and I was out in Fresno, California. And I went into a large long-term care nursing home and sat down because I wanted to taste the food. I wanted to see it. And I remember to this day, her name was Mrs. Miller. And I remember looking at the food and going, wow, like if this is what it looks like, I could make a huge impact. And I bit into it, and I could tell the broccoli was frozen. So I said, well, there's nutrition in this, and she slammed her fist on the table. She said, that's not the point, young man. The point is I'm 96. I've lived in Fresno, California my entire life. I've eaten nothing but fresh tasting vegetables and great quality meats, and this is what they're serving me. And if you're here to make a difference, you've got a lot of work ahead of you. Got chills on my arm, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what God meant. My purpose is the kitchen. My pulpit is the ministry of this food. Like, I can share the gospel everywhere I go, one plate at a time. So I love it so much, I got it tattooed on my arm. And it's Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve God's perfect, pleasing will.